All right, 66, FDR's court packing plan. So we got to kind of go step by step. It's a little bit confusing and it's hard to do if we're not together, but we'll try to do it today. Again, if you have any questions, you just have to contact us and let us know so we can help you out. So, according to the Constitution, the President appoints justices to the Supreme Court and the Senate confirms those justices or gives its okay. So remember, justices are not elected. So they're appointed by the President, and they usually, if not always, are allies with the President, right? They believe in the same ideas that he believes in. And they are confirmed or given the job by the Senate. So this is an example of checks and balances, right? The President in the executive branch, the Senate in the legislative branch. Even though the President appoints justices, it's up to the Senate to confirm it. The Senate could not confirm a justice, and as a result, that would be a check on the presidential power. At this time, the Senate was loyal to FDR. They were Democrats, and they were willing to confirm justices when they became available to the Supreme Court. At that time and presently, the Supreme Court has 9 justices, and it's set by law. It's not in the Constitution, but there are 9 justices on the court. And that's to make sure, hopefully, that there is no split decisions, right? It has to be 5-4 at the very least. Some New Deal programs were being challenged in the courts. As the New Deal started rolling along, Americans began to challenge some of the constitutionality of these New Deal programs. And they were weaving their way through the court, and eventually they would end up in the Supreme Court for a final judgment. So here's a cartoon, and I just want to explain the cartoon and why people were nervous about the New Deal or why they might be challenging the New Deal in court. All right, so again, what we have to do all the time is we have to make sure that we are spending time taking a look at what the title is, The Trojan Horse at Our Gate. We're looking at it in total. We're trying to find the different details. We have New Deal tyranny here on the Trojan horse itself. Right? So this horse represents New Deal tyranny, taking away the rights and liberties of the people, if you remember. And here's the gate, the Constitution of the United States. And up here are American citizens. And what they don't want happen is this Trojan horse to get inside the fort, or inside, in this case, this city. All right, if you know the story of the Trojan horse, the Greeks hid inside this horse, right, this wooden horse, and the Trojans dragged it in as a victory trophy. And in the dead of night, they popped out of the horse. They opened up the gate and they took down the city. So this is a reference to that, and it's also a reference to the fact that the New Deal seemed tyrannical and anti-constitutional to many. Okay, so let's talk about the plan itself, the court packing plan itself. The Supreme Court had ruled that 2 New Deal programs were unconstitutional, the AAA and the NRA. FDR feared that the court might declare all of the New Deal unconstitutional. He saw a trend. He was afraid that more and more of his programs were going to be ruled unconstitutional. FDR proposed appointing 6 more justices to the Supreme Court. Therefore, if he appoints them, they must believe in what he believes. They must be New Dealers, and they're going to change the complexion of the court. There's going to be 6 more justices added to the 9, and those 6 will have the power to rule over and control the court. Remember, the President appoints justices and the Senate confirms. And at this time, FDR was the President and the Senate were FDR allies. So he knew if he appointed 6 more justices, they would all be New Dealers. And that would change the ratio in the court and ensure that the New Deal would not be ruled unconstitutional. He added new justices that would rule favorably for the New Deal. FDR would control the court. So now he controlled the presidency. He, in some sense, controlled the Senate because they were Democrats, and now he would also control the court. He'd have all 3 branches in his hand. Many opposed the idea because it would undercut separation of powers and checks and balances. Remember, the whole idea behind the Constitution was to make sure powers were separate and powers were checked, and in this case, FDR would have all the power. All right, so we have to take a look at the title. The legal act President Roosevelt, I'm sorry, but the Supreme Court says I must chuck you back again. And here you have FDR on the boat and Uncle Sam in the water, and FDR seems to be throwing him back into the water, and the water is the Depression. And what this cartoon is trying to say here is, hey, I was dragging you out. I was helping Uncle Sam out, but now because the Constitution, because the court has ruled the parts of the New Deal unconstitutional, I got to throw you back in. So this court ruling is really affecting the United States and affecting our ability to get out of the Depression. In this cartoon, oh, whoops. So that's the kind of sailor he is. All right, and here's FDR, all right, as the captain of the ship. He says, that compass doesn't point the way I want to go. Change it now, and the compass is the Supreme Court. And what he wants is the Congress here to change the complexion of the court, to make the court a New Deal court. In this cartoon, you have FDR here, right? Sorry, guys. All right, in this cartoon here, you have FDR right here, right, representing the executive branch. You have the legislative branch, and they're playing together, right? They're playing the New Deal tune together. And off to the side is the judicial branch, and he wants him to fall in. And here's his little instrument here. Get in line with us, all right? Get in with the New Deal. Okay, this is the qualifying test for Supreme Court jobs. FDR is giving the test. Great. Now, one more time all together. And what do all the justices say? Yes, 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 yes. All right. What we're trying to do here is we're going to try to ensure that the New Deal is not ruled against. In this cartoon, to furnish the Supreme Court its practical assistance, here's FDR trying to plead with Congress to change the number on the court. And in the background here, you have the 6 new justices, and they all look like FDR because they're going to all rule in favor of the New Deal when it's challenged again. Okay, so in this case, what we're going to do is look at some of the criticisms through the cartoons. All right, here's FDR here, and he's got a big bowl of power. His reorganization plan, or the court packing plan, is on the side of the bowl. The executive branch is much larger than the Congress and the legislative branch. And what does FDR want? He wants more power, please. More power. Okay, the pit and the pendulum here, right? You have FDR with a big old knife. And here's the Supreme Court. This thing here. And the United States is kind of on this pendulum, tied up by these wires here, this rope. And this is constitutional government. And if you allow FDR to cut the Supreme Court out, what are we going to get? We're going to get dictatorship. And the reason we're going to get dictatorship, right, is the fact that now the president, the legislative branch, and the court are all going to act in concert, and that person who is going to conduct that concert is going to be the president. And do we want all the power in one person's hand, even during the Depression? Okay, so there's a 5-question multiple choice quiz linked on Schoology. Please complete that as your assignment for number 66. Good luck. And lastly, with respect to FDR's point of view, I know this is a little blurry here, but in this case, this was the qualifying test for the Supreme Court jobs. All right. And here's FDR over here giving the test. Oh.